Last time we ran through the Switch 2 games coming this September, but the original Switch isn't done yet, not even close. So today it's all about Switch 1 15 games landing this September, from cozy little indies to full-blown jrpgs. And I'll be honest about which ones are actually worth your time and which ones just look the part. We're kicking off with a game Switch owners have waited on for 7 straight years. Little Witch in the Woods was first announced for the console back in 2019, then sat in PC early access for ages, only hit its full release last autumn, and it's finally landing on Switch now. It's a cozy life sim about a young apprentice witch named Ellie who brews potions, fishes, helps the villagers, and pets a lot of cats. Wrapped in lovely pixel art that owes an obvious debt to Stardew Valley. This is a warm, slow game for the evenings when all you want is to melt into something gentle. But I'll be straight about the Nintendo side. It's a direct port from PC with no separate Switch 2 version and no real enhancements, so don't expect technical fireworks. It runs $20, which for a project like this feels fair rather than greedy. Next is a premise so silly it sounds made up, except it's the actual plot. Garfield eats too much spinach lasagna and falls into a nightmare where the villain is Monday itself, and the enemies are vegetables and sugar-free candy. Escape from Monday is an old-school 3D collect-a-thon platformer, where the lazy cat bounces through levels, gobbles lasagna to get his taste back, and swaps into a turkey, surfer, or cowboy outfit for new abilities. Microids showed the first 10 minutes of real gameplay at Comic-Con in July, and it looks exactly like what it is. Bright, simple, and aimed at kids and nostalgic adults. TOEM Studio, which has handled this cat before, is developing it, with Microids Publishing, which is where I'd rein my expectations in. Licensed platformers from Microids are a coin flip, the kind where the charming wrapper often matters more than the depth underneath.
This year, the Grinch.
And here's the first genuinely odd thing on the list, a Christmas game coming out in September. Grinch 2. Saving Christmas picks up with the reformed Grinch, whose heart is now 3 sizes bigger, teaming up with his dog Max to build the fanciest tree Whoville has ever seen. It's a family 3D platformer across snowy worlds, with gadgets like a snowball cannon, rocket skates, and a jetpack, plus couch co-op where a second player takes over Max. Kids will get on fine with it, but let's call it what it is. Publisher Outright Games has built its whole business on cheap licensed cartoon games, and the bar is usually set at exactly budget height. The fact that a festive Christmas title is launching in September instead of near December is its own little head-scratcher.
Dragon Pearl of Destruction, intense beat-em-up action that puts the power in your hands.
Now for the one that grabs me most on this whole list. Dragon Pearl of Destruction is a 2D beat-em-up set in the He-Man universe. Playable solo or with a friend, made by Bitmap Bureau, a studio with serious mileage in old-school brawlers like Xeno Crisis and Terminator 2D Skeletor and Evil Lyn. Dig up an ancient pearl and want to drown Eternia in darkness, and you fight through 12 stages as He-Man, Teela, and Man-at-Arms, unlocking She-Ra along the way, all rendered in huge detailed sprites straight out of the 80s cartoon. On pixel art and studio pedigree alone, this is a real shot at one of the best retro brawlers of the year. Ova Magica is one of those projects built over years on pure passion. It was crowdfunded, announced back in 2020, aimed at 2022, and only reached PC this spring. It's a blend of farming, RPG, and monster collecting where you breed colorful blobs, crossbreed them across elements, and even put them to work around the farm while a turtle blob waters your crops and a cow blob makes milk. Combat has a nice twist. It's a real-time system where enemy hits can shove you back along the action bar or cancel the move you were charging. The most interesting bit landed right before release. The developers added native Switch 2 support rather than just backwards compatibility, which meant rewriting the console code. That's what pushed the console versions from July to early September, And honestly, for the game running properly on the new hardware, the wait is worth it. If you finished the first Trails in the Sky remake, you remember the brutal cliffhanger it left you on, and the payoff is nearly here. Second Chapter is a remake of the entry where Estelle hunts for the missing Joshua and pulls apart the schemes of the Ouroboros Society. Now fully in 3D combat adds new crafts and a brave rush move for linking party attacks, and you can carry a save over from the first game for bonuses. But let me focus on what matters for Nintendo owners specifically. The Switch 2 version weighs 33 gigabytes against 19 on the base Switch, a wide enough gap to suggest the newer hardware gets noticeably cleaner visuals and textures. Physical is a little tangled. The West gets discs for both Switch and Switch 2, while Japan only gets a physical edition on Switch 2. And I'll warn you ahead of time about the paid cosmetic season pass, which is a questionable call for a full remake. After a few tense games, here's a breath of fresh air. TOEM 2 continues the cozy photo adventure series where you simply wander the world with a camera, snap strange little phenomena, solve gentle puzzles, and never rush, because there are no timers or hard requirements at all. The big change from the black and white Doodle original is that the sequel moves into full 3D, with running, jumping, and climbing, and adds new camera attachments for different puzzles. I was glad to see the developers state outright that they're building TOEM 2 to hit 60 frames on the base Switch, a kind gesture toward owners of the older console. One honest caveat: cozy games are an acquired taste, and if you're after challenge and adrenaline, this meditative stroll might feel too calm.
Every autumn in Moomin Valley, for as long as anyone...
With Moomintroll Winter's Warmth, I need to set the record straight right away. On the base Switch, this game came out back in April, and September is only the launch of the Switch 2 and PlayStation 5 version. It's a cozy, story-driven puzzle adventure from Hyper Games, a spiritual successor to their lovely Snufkin, Melody of Moomin Valley, drawn from Tove Janssen's Winter book. Moomintroll wakes up unexpectedly mid-hibernation and finds himself alone for the first time in a snowbound valley he barely recognizes, and the whole game is about him learning to make friends and help those worse off. Critics warm to the original, so the quality is a safe bet.
Welcome to Farming Camp, where you'll step into the boots of young and ambitious Alessandra.
Farming Camp wanders into the very crowded field of farming sims, and its main card isn't the farming itself, but the wrapper around it. It's a hand-drawn 2D game set at a teenage summer camp where young Alessandra competes to be the best farmer. Basically, the story of who she was before she became a household name in her world. You don't run the place alone, you run it with a couple of companions, handing out chores, earning points on daily tasks, going to classes, and dealing with the drama of a teenage cast. Quick mini-games break up the routine, from fighting pests to chopping wood to cooking. It looks charming, but let's be plain. There are so many Stardew Valley clones now that standing out is brutally hard, and mid-tier publisher Soedesco is behind it.
Another world exists that's encroaching on our own. A world where monsters...
Now for the biggest note of caution on the list. Kyoto Xanadu is a new action RPG from Falcom, the studio behind Wise and Trails, and a follow-up to Tokyo Xanadu. Falcom has said openly that it wants Xanadu to become its third major series alongside those two. The gameplay splits in half. By day, you're a student at Hirosaka Academy, roaming an alternate Kyoto, attending classes and building a card deck, and beneath the school, you descend into the Xanadu Labyrinth, which mixes 2D platforming with 3D combat built around so-called soul devices. It sounds lively, but here's the snag. The game already came out in Japan and Asia on July 16th, yet a Western release and even a publisher for it still haven't been officially named. So it lands in a September lineup on Faith. It's confirmed for Switch and Switch 2, but there's simply no concrete date for us yet. SpeedRunners 2. King of Speed brings back one of the rowdiest multiplayer party games of the last decade. The original earned the nickname the Mario Kart of 2D platformers. You race side by side, and whoever falls behind and slips off the edge of the screen gets knocked out of the round. The sequel blows the chaos up to 8 players at once, local and online, and throws in a grappling hook, missiles, traps, freeze rays, and crisp high-definition visuals styled like a retro-future superhero utopia from the 60s. On one couch with friends, it's pure mayhem and gleefully ruined friendships. But games like this have one weak spot. They live and die on the online and the quality of the netcode, and the team is promising to put real work into it, so we'll see. The release, for what it's worth, already slid from July to early September. Kong Survivor Instinct flips the usual kaiju fantasy on its head. You're not the giant monster here. You're an ordinary man, a father, wading into a Titan-wrecked city to find his missing daughter. It's a 2.5D adventure with platforming, combat, and Metroidvania exploration. And its standout idea is a Monarch device that lets you nudge Titan behavior and turn their monstrous strength into a way to clear a path through the rubble. The setting is the Monsterverse right after Godzilla vs. Kong, with mercenaries, toxic leaks, and Kong himself looming in the background. Great concept. But Switch owners get 2 sobering facts. The game already launched back in 2024, so on Switch this is a late port, and the September date is marked as a placeholder in places. The Walking Dead Streets of Survival tries to turn the zombie show into an arcade beat-em-up in the Streets of Rage mold. You play as Rick, Daryl, and Michonne, each with their own style and signature weapon, a magnum, a crossbow, and a katana, cutting through crowds of walkers and Negan's people across familiar spots like Alexandria and Hilltop, loosely following the all-out war arc. There's skill tree progression, multi-phase bosses, and difficulty levels down to an easy mode for casual runs. With Case Solved, The London Files, I have to correct the record straight away because it actually came out already, on July 29th, on both Switch and Switch 2. It's a cozy noir detective game built entirely on logic in the vein of Einstein's riddle. You get a handful of suspects, a pile of contradictory statements, and one answer you have to reason your way to, with no guessing and no hunting for objects. Hand-drawn scenes, a jazzy soundtrack, 60s rain and fog, an unhurried pace. The atmosphere really is pleasant. But soberly on the content, there are only 3 cases here, so it's short and aimed squarely at people who love logic puzzles rather than anyone after a big investigation with action. As a relaxing thing for a couple of evenings, it's just right.
Be it to the distant past.
And for dessert, the RPG on this list that interests me most. Another Eden Begins is a standalone console version of the mobile. Another Eden, but with one enormous caveat that changes everything. There's no gacha, no energy, and no mandatory internet. It's a complete self-contained JRPG for a fixed price. And the pedigree is killer. The writing and direction come from Masato Kato, the man behind Chrono Trigger and Xenogears, and the music from Yasunori Mitsuda of the same lineage. This is about as close to the spirit of 90s RPGs as anything launching this September. Time travel across past, present, and future, turn-based battles, full English voice acting for the main story, a new game plus, and 10 different endings.